Volume 97, take 2. Tape.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host...
Oh, it's time for the wide-angle lens. And here we are. This is Kaz Kwiatkowski, the City Controller, and my good friends and co-hosts.
I'm John Steiner with Mecca and the Perry 200.
And I'm DJ Barker from Cat Channel 2.
The one and only. We're all here.
Three Musketeers.
We're the Three Amigos.
Yeah.
They said it couldn't happen because neither he or I were ever on at the same time, and there was starting to be talk.
Well,
secret identities.
Kaz hasn't been on every week either. He's been out of town.
I was in Ellentown last week.
Oh, we're visiting the family?
Yeah, Pennsylvania's third largest city, which my goal is to pass them again.
How far behind
We're
We're
probably about 5,000 behind or so.
Well, we got some work to do.
Well, I never felt the Census Bureau gave us a true count. In fact, I don't think they give a true count anywhere.
I don't think that's possible to get a true count from the census.
Well, I think you have to be more aggressive. If you read about how certain towns do it, the ones that have a vested interest in keeping a magic number, they will send their own people out there with the census people. Right. And if need be, they'll send them out with police officers. Right. In some of the, wherever they have to find them, they find them.
Do they count the people in prisons and jails?
Here's a good question. It's always been brought up, and I think the answer is, John, that is a question we should call the Census Bureau. Because, where do you count a college kid?
Right.
Where he resides or where he stays?
Right.
Oop, I did it again. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, I see you're sitting.
Hey, John. Uh-oh, I cut him off. John, call back, could you? Technology has bypassed this kid.
It's a great start to the day.
It's the old age getting to me now, right? I knew I'd do that, pick it up. That's a common...
It's like you're in your office, and you're like, when you start talking, you start...
Yep.
There you go.
Taxpayer Hotline.
I guess we got you now.
Pardon?
I say we have you now.
Yes, you did.
We got cut off there.
Yeah, I lifted up the phone. I did what you normally do in life.
Yeah, you shut it off, right?
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that with these phones.
I see you have guests sitting in the bobblehead section.
Well, we always have guests.
Oh, yeah, but the bobbleheads aren't there.
No, you know what the bobbleheads are? Do you ever watch the people on TV?
Yeah, I watch 7 of them every Wednesday when I get a chance.
I asked these reporters why they do what they do. I guess it's an acknowledgement, like back to the studio.
Yeah.
But you ever watch when they ask a question like, we have a DJ out there in the field at the Erie Zoo.
Yeah.
And DJ's going like this 3 minutes early, and I'm going, why do they do that? It's so distracting.
Oh, we used to have a chimp named Susie. She used to do it too. She used to point at her head. I think she was a lot smarter than some of the politicians we have around.
Man, are you ripened today? What? You must have had some of that Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, that's pretty good. They opened up a new one in Target.
Well, they've been doing that. We're a little behind, John. They've been doing that everywhere.
But they're taking all their businesses away from the city taxpayers. Just like...
what do you mean? They're out there?
Well, yeah, that's up in the Mill Creek area.
Yeah, but we do have a Starbucks in Erie.
Yes.
And actually, do we have another one? Let me think.
Down on 5th and State. I don't know if we have another one.
No, I'm thinking, well, see, the thing with Starbucks, some of them aren't full stores. They're like partial stores.
Little coffee shops. Like the one on Peach Street was supposed to be for those condominiums or those townhouses.
Wait a minute, let's not get into that coffee house.
Get into the townhouse sale right
That
here.
may be like the 19th Street tracks, John. We never see it.
That's true. Just like these townhouses, I don't think we're ever going to see anybody buy them.
Well, I knew one person that actually was going to buy it,
well,
but they weren't built at the time.
They offered like $90,000 for the $170,000, and I think they bailed out.
Well, if I ever get in the mood where I'm going to buy a $170,000 condo,
To look at the tire company and
No, I'm going to get one that's on the 30th floor.
the 30th floor.
Yeah, if we ever get a 30-story building.
The Allentown.
Well, they got 33 there.
Oh,
That's the one they're building.
But,
But that's where I'd be up, like on the 30th or 14th, well, if it says 14th,
yes.
I'd be in the top looking at that beautiful lakefront.
And eliminating the 13th floor, right?
I'd love to be up on that high.
Most high rises eliminate the 13th floor.
Well, we'll call it 14 then.
Yeah, I see. But anyways, I'd like to talk about this project payment being missed with the redevelopment
Oh,
authority.
don't go over that again, John. Oh, man, it's painful.
They're having a meeting on the 5th floor up there to renegotiate another deal. The redevelopment authority is so far behind in their debts with this outfit out of Pittsburgh. City council give them, what, a total of $60,000 to start this project? And here they're not even taking care of them. They're in there right up to their nose. You have Kim Green making an excess of $125,000 with her benefits. And who's getting taken to the cleaners again? The taxpayer. I think it's time for those bobbleheads up there to dissolve that the redevelopment authority and let the city run it themselves. We have two authorities in town that are really hurting as far as bringing money to the taxpayer.
Which one would you?
Pension authority,
The
and
which
they
one?
have the bed tax to bail them out. We have the redevelopment authority that has city council to bail them out. They had the Kohler project, the Juice project, the Mercantile building, the one on Parade Street. Now we have this one. We had Boston Store. Who's paying for all this? My tax dollars. We have investors that use their own money and don't look for tips or whatever. And we have this gal here who has her office in City Hall. She doesn't pay any rent. She doesn't pay any utilities. She's milking the taxpayers blind. Taxpayers, vote your council people out. Get all new people in there. Now, I have another thing to talk about. The inland port.
Mm-hmm.
There's another deal with this. This is the Erie County economic development. We had inland ports from 1950 to the late 70s. We had the pulpwood docks, we had the coal docks, we had the ore docks, we had the grain elevator. It got too expensive, so we went by rail. Now you have John Elliott going out there to try and convince people we need a port from Conneaut, Erie, etc. They have them already in Conneaut. They don't have to bring Erie involving in this. They just want dollars from the taxpayers.
Well,
and you got a liaison who works as city councilman, Dave Brennan. Now, he shouldn't even be a city councilman. He should resign because he works for John Elliott. There's too many interests that affect the county redevelopment for the taxpayers in the city of Erie. Taxpayers, get rid of him.
Let's see, the Port Authority, the original port concept, as I remember it, goes back to, was it President Eisenhower?
Way back into the late 40s all the way up to the 70s.
But really, I mean, the basic impact happened, I think, when they built the Duquesne Marine Terminal, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, the exchanges in the locks got to be too expensive.
Yeah.
So then they start shipping everything by rail and by tractor trailer.
When did they do the locks, John?
What did they do with the locks?
No, when did they do them?
I don't. You mean when did they close them up?
No, when did they put them in?
Way back when. I don't recall, but that just raises and lowers the ships.
Well, what do I remember about the 50s? The 50s is, like the late 50s is when I think they had, I remember going down to, my dad took me down to Duquesne Marine Terminal. There was all kinds of speeches that day and everything, and that was going to open up Erie to the ocean, and along with Cleveland, Buffalo, and everybody else. They did call it something like the Inland Sea Project, remember?
The locks got too expensive to transfer the ships.
Well, I can tell you, when I was in the private sector, all of our steel pipe, all of our big products all came in from a port called Wilmington, and not in Delaware, by the way.
Yes,
Wilmington, North Carolina.
right.
And it was there were reasons why it came in there. And there were reasons why trucks left from there. Sometimes they use rail, but not even so much rail, because even coming into Erie, there are dead spots in the rail system.
It's true.
People in this town still don't realize you can't go from Erie to Pittsburgh by rail easy.
No, you can't.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Nope. I think there's no direct track, right, John?
No, there's not.
You have to go to Conneaut, actually, and that goes back to Andrew Carnegie, by the way.
Swing around. That's just like
He-
when
he
they
did
wanted
that.
to say they're going to bring in that fast trains. It'll never come through here.
Well, what amazed me was they stopped the trains at Cleveland and at Buffalo.
Yeah, and you take another section and go the other
So
way.
everything in between, that's only in this country could they do that.
Yep.
A 200-mile stretch of no man's land where you go from one fast train and then you get off and go to a slow train to get onto another fast train.
But the whole thing here is the taxpayers they're getting buffaloed. Just like what kind of a deal are they going to make upstairs today?
Why, you know what, it's getting scary, that whole project, because you would think somebody did a business plan.
Well, they don't have a business plan, just like that.
I mean, I only know of one person in the pre-stages of the building project that put a deposit down. I knew that person personally. And then they had to back out because they
Sure.
couldn't tell them when the house was going to be
Only
built.
guy that has any.
Now we have the house, but they claim by their own, if I read the paper right, you have the coffee shop and one other person.
Yeah, they said the same thing with the mercantile building too. They were all rented out. What do we get if the post office hasn't come there? There would be nothing down there.
And there's an interesting one.
Yes, it's
The government-
really interesting all around.
the government's
this
cutting
section.
back.
You know, the city needs a manager. We don't need all these authorities. We need a manager to know what they're doing.
Well, the trouble is the authorities, John.
The authorities are autonomous and they
Yes.
only report the
In no way would a manager, a mayor, or anything else, the only control they got is who they put on the board.
That's true.
When
But
these
the
were
whole thing here is
when these were made autonomous, that was probably a giant. Well, if you remember, there were a lot of people that didn't like the idea of autonomous authorities.
right. So I was one of them.
Well, there's good points about it. Okay.
There's good points, but the majority are bad. You
If you-
have authorities making it out. You got the
The airport.
Fran,
Airport parking, housing.
they're making money. The housing or the parking authorities making money. They're paying back to the city. You know, I saw the article the other day that the housing authority, they were hurting because of this deal with the fallout from the fiscal cliff. Well, they got $10 million in the bank. That little bit of money they were having, it was going to do nothing.
How about the Zoological Society? There's a group that's doing good.
It's a great society. You talk about Scott Mitchell, he does a great job.
And we got to thank him, remember, for that flag he put up again.
He has. You know, there's other businessmen around here. You got Griffith, they could have put a flag in. You got Cathedral Prep, they could have put a flag in. Gannon College could have put a flag up. Mercyhurst, all the freeloaders. Well, I'll get you back. Let some of these other people get in. People get smart. Get rid of the bobbleheads. Have a great day.
He's fired up today.
He had his, well, I don't know if it was Starbucks. I think it was, he had the Italian roast with a little bit of espresso in there, I think.
Yeah, he's fired up, but
A couple shots, I think.
well, the authorities, they have the ability to borrow money.
Yes, they do. I mean, here, he has some great authorities that have done good over the years. You know, you look at what the airport's accomplished. We got the long runway, and it's, landing fees are paying for it. They did their due diligence by getting grants, and, and the airport will generate that back. Go ahead, caller.
Guys, let's be fair about these authorities.
Right.
If,
Go ahead.
they're not responsible for that debt. The citizens of Erie are responsible for that debt, and you know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We are, unfortunately, that is the byproduct of authorities. While you separate them,
All this pie in the sky about they can borrow money, the only way they borrow money is by the backing of the city.
You're right.
The taxation ability of the city. They don't have any power to borrow money. So let's forget this. They can borrow money.
Well, they do borrow money, but they borrow it with our blessing.
Dollars on condos on 13th and Peach. You'd be better off going up to the casino and thinking you're going to make money, because there's nobody wants to live at 13th and Peach. I don't give a darn what you try to sell people. They're not going to move down there. And by the way, the house, the unit that's being looked at has like $50,000 worth of upgrades. It's not a $170,000 unit they're looking at. They're looking at like a $230,000 unit. That's not practical for Erie, you know. And I get tired of all the every time I read about a venture, it's got John Elliott's name attached to it. Whether it's Lord Corporation moving to Summit, whether it's the Mercantile Building, that was John Elliott's baby. Now you see that he's got $190,000 lent to the Fourth River people. He gave the city school district $10 million. He bought 4 buildings from the Erie School District and rented them back. And his right-hand man is sitting on city council. David Brennan, I'll tell you what, I've worked for a lot of people. And I'll tell you who I take care of first is the one who signed on the bottom of my paycheck. And quite frankly, for David Brennan, it's not the citizens of Erie, it's John Elliott. And he's involved in every damn thing. Winarski put him on the countywide planning as a liaison for city council. Well, how nice is that when your boss is trying to do the biggest project in Erie County that we've had done in a long time? And frankly, Albion's a little town. We got property down there. We got that hammer mill site down there that's just begging to be developed. And we're going to Albion? You got to be kidding me, Cass. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And damn it, we sit there and bobbleheads. That's being kind. That's being kind. Those people kowtow to these authorities and pretend like they're this independent group. They're only independent when you ask them to do something they don't want to do. That's when they become independent. Otherwise, they're hooked to our hips. We're responsible for their debts, and we're going to suffer from that. The downtown, give me a break.
Well, would you agree, though, like when I talk about the parking authority, before they build a ramp, they always do a study. Not sure they're going to borrow money with the city's approval.
Yeah.
But they're pretty well sure that when they build one, they've done their homework and they said that, and rightly so, we're going to pay for it through parking fees. When you look at the end product, they've never, ever come back to the city. In fact, they've returned money to the city as part of the deal for us signing their bond issues. There's proof that if they do what they're supposed to do, it works out nice. The airport authority, they're going to get landing fees. You would have thought somebody on these redevelopment projects, any businessman, like if you look at Nick Scott, and I keep saying I'm not a parrot for Nick Scott. I don't even get along with Nick sometimes. But I admire him as a businessman because I think that when he builds something, he looks at it and goes, am I going to make a buck? At the end of the line, am I going to make a buck? And I think when you're in business, that's how you look at it. At the end of the day, if you spend $10 million, you better get at least 10-15% above that at the end of the day.
Yeah, talking about the parking authority, though, I got just a little bit of a gripe with them.
Go ahead.
Sold off property at 29th and Parade for that doctor's office, so they eliminated some of their acreage there. Over on 13th and Peach, I think they sold off some parking so they'd have parking for those condos. Why in the world does Erie Insurance have to build their own 1,000-stall parking ramp? If you've got that much of a demand downtown for parking, why can't our parking authority get out there, borrow the money? Evidently, you've got customers coming out the yin-yang, and Erie Insurance is building their own parking ramp.
Well, that's not unusual. Let me explain to you a couple things.
Parking before I forget.
Go ahead.
You've got the Port Authority building a Taj Mahal parking ramp out on West 12th Street. And the irony of that is, when you're riding east on 12th Street, you see this Taj Mahal parking lot right next to an empty 400-stall parking lot. And why in the world is the Port Authority building parking? I mean, that kind of stuff just baffles me.
It's for, basically for Liberty Park.
Oh, wait, you can, okay, Kaz.
No, I'm saying that's what the justification will be.
Authority, Port, I think of water. I think of 12th and Green Garden, there's no water. Let the parking authority build parking. Let them benefit from parking, and then maybe they can stand alone and even make more money for themselves.
Let me say this about Parade Street. Years back, that was when they first built it, and I do remember that. I hate to say I was that old, because I remember the building they tore down to build it. That really wasn't a prime spot, and the parking authority never really wanted to be there. And believe me, I tell you this, they never collected enough money to pay for that lot. But that was, and I'll say this because all things are, it was a political decision at the time. A few businessmen pressed the mayor at that time and city council to build it. When you look at the parking lot they tore down on State Street, I think that was a mistake. If you look at where the people go that park for the various taverns and bars and juniors, you eliminated half the parking in the park at Griswold, and then you took that out. That kind of makes it tough for people to find parking at night. I'm always an advocate of making the buildings taller rather than, taking out parking lots. But, I agree with you. But, there's a lot of decisions that are made where parking ramps go. Now, I'm sure in other towns you'll see hospitals building their own parking ramps. Now, in Erie, they don't. They look at the parking ramp. I think Erie just wanted to build their own ramp, and no one can stop them, really.
Yeah, right. I mean, and hey, Gannon puts up their own streetlights. What do we need the city for? But the parking authority, they're crying for parking at 5th and Beach.
Right.
They don't have the money to do it. I mean, somehow when you've got a built-in clientele, you should be able to meet their demands.
Well, the problem at Fifth Street was, I think they actually were going to go ahead with that. The problem was, and I don't want to mention the name of a couple merchants involved,
I think I know that.
But I can't blame them, because if I was those merchants, I'd be fighting tooth and nail too not to have my property taken, because it's a business. Well, the one business is I can't speak because I know their books, but if you ride by the place, it sure looks like it's making money every day.
Okay, I'm going to let you go, but I care about this. I was born and raised here. Never lived anywhere else.
I know you do, and I do too. Believe me.
But I'm at a point in my life where I start to think, half of my city's not safe to go into. The taxes are outrageous. I've got a school district that's threatening to raise my taxes like $350 per 100,000 next year because they're going broke. We've got all these problems, and I do not see one politician working for the people. I want to live in a community where it's a community working together. We've got special interests all over the place getting their way with city council and probably county council, and it's killing us. This stranglehold they have on my property with taxes is ridiculous. Everybody should have to pay for public safety. Fire and police isn't free. I don't care if you're an authority, if you're a nonprofit. I don't care if you walk on frickin' water. You got to pay taxes.
Well, listen to the rest of my show when I get on about my favorite university problem.
I got to go pick up my wife because she still has it.
Watch it on the replay.
All right, bye.
There's some people fired up, and and what's strange is over the years I've watched how we've had many plans and many things going down that.
Well, every organization has a plan, and it seems like they're spending the money on these plans, but when it comes time to putting these plans into fruition, nobody's stepping forward to do anything with the plans that they've made.
Yeah, is anybody looking at the plans to say they make sense?
Well, there's too many plans. Everybody's got a plan. They need to get one.
I remember when they built the Civic Center, they said the arena, they knew then it was too small, but everybody drank the Kool-Aid and goes, "Oh no, it's the right size. It's the right size." if you tell it long enough, it becomes true. Now, what are we doing here 20, 30 years later?
Yeah.
Now we're spending 20 million or more
Yeah.
to basically put a new dress on an old doll,
Yeah.
right?
Expanding
And
it.
it's going to look nice. Don't get me wrong, but it just all goes back to, you know, as Jim Thompson used to say, prior planning prevents whatever that was. He used to say that means if you do your homework ahead of time, you know, if you look at what the people did in Old Erie, you look at the Union Station, beautiful building, match any building of city its size at the time. You look at the courthouse, you look at the federal building, you look at Erie Stadium was almost 20,000 seats. One of the best high school stadiums in the country. Probably bigger than we deserve, but we filled it. Those people had vision. I mean, you know, they tree-lined the streets, they did all the work. Sometimes I wonder today about, you know, they never asked the public a lot of things either, like, you know, the public is the one that uses it.
Well, what happened is with Gannon and the expansion of Hammett, you know, a lot of families lived in those neighborhoods. They were, you know, single families.
Right.
They all paid taxes. They all shopped around here. You know, they lived here, so, you know, businesses could thrive downtown. Supermarkets down here, drugstores. They were all over in the downtown area, from, you know, the Lower West Side to the Lower East Side. But with expansion of Hammett and Gannon University, I mean, at least Erie Insurance pays taxes on.
And so is Hammett.
Right. Well, they pay half, right? But
Erie Insurance, yeah, they do pay tax on, which is why, you know, and create jobs,
right.
which is, you know, that's important. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller. Hello? Got a little difficulty.
Well, what happens is you've got government. I mean, with the way with businesses leaving, you've got government trying to subsidize these businesses and give them handouts, like, you know, like they mentioned earlier, the juice guy, you know, here's money to come invest in our community. We're going to give you money, and that's what's wrong with our country in general.
Well, yeah.
Due to the fact that with all our trade laws and all the NAFTA stuff going on, all these companies are leaving us. So that's making it to the point where our governments, you know, local governments, have to start giving handouts to businesses and begging them to come here. You know, that's a problem in the United States in general. I mean, look at Texas. I mean, their business tax structure is totally different than Pennsylvania. So if I'm a businessman, like GE, for example, they moved to, you know, one of their plants to Texas. They have a whole different tax structure down there. So not only,
Go ahead.
yeah, not only are we on an uneven air, you know, as far as states goes, but then everything's going across seas.
I love their reasoning. We've won another plant just in case something happens to one in Erie.
Right.
Back when I was a kid and they were making cars in Detroit, there wasn't another Detroit,
Right.
was there?
No.
I mean, they might have made cars in different cities, parts of them, but your basic car was still made in Detroit.
Right.
And they made tires in Akron. There was no other Akron.
And that corridor, I mean, was all automotive. But, you know, with the Rust Belt, the way that, you know, the manufacturing jobs are leaving, they're leaving behind jobs that aren't family sustaining.
But that guy does make a good point. We got a lot of work to do in Erie. We do. And it's not just Erie, it's other towns. We have to start going back into the neighborhoods. And you're right. He's absolutely right about everybody paying.
Right.
I didn't want to go into, we had a meeting the other day with Merciers and council.
How'd that go? I saw you on the news.
Not too good.
Not too good.
Well, I mean, I think we got council's attention, and I really, really, really hope that we start doing something about it, because here's a neighborhood that is rapidly disappearing.
Other just the college kids and the parties and the trash and everything?
Well, it's very simple. You're a young man, you got a family, right? You're not going to move next door to a house that parties till 3 in the morning.
Right.
You're not going to spend that kind of money to basically be surrounded by that.
I think we know what the problem is, but what were some of the, did anybody have any suggestions for
The people did, and the people, for instance, suggest other cities have tried what they call layering. You take an existing area and you limit you further limit the amount of rentals. Now, you got to be careful, because by doing that, by limiting rentals, then you put some people in a hole that they cannot sell their house. But at the same time, if you allow what's happening now, you allow the whole neighborhood to go down the hill. So we're at a very precarious tipping point.
So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, it is. But all the neighbors ask is that, hey, act like you're an adult. And I didn't say it at the meeting, but at the age that those kids are, and I was at that age, many of the people that age were toting a rifle with me at that age. That's all I'll say, and I think you know what I'm talking about. They were asked to be adults at a much earlier age, and we had one kid. You had to laugh at this. If I was Mercier's, I certainly wouldn't put this in their ad. I wish I had taped it, though. A young gentleman gets up there after the neighbors talk, and he goes, "You want to have us arrested?" Because some of the neighbors were getting a little hot and suggested maybe they need to be charged once in a while, like after the second or third time,
Right.
And he goes, "You want to have us arrested? You'll ruin our career." He says, "I'm in criminal justice, and some of my friends are in intelligence." Now, there's two big oxymorons right there, right? And if you have us arrested, it'll ruin our career. And it's not going to stop it anyway, so why are you going into criminal justice? Whoever this kid was, And one woman says, "You're breaking the law." And he goes, "So what?" And I'm going,
Well, they don't live, they're just there, they're not living here. So as soon as they're done, they're leaving. So what?
hey, and then what we hear, well, kids got to grow up. Okay. So that generation grows up, and then you got another one after that, so pretty soon.
Can't they start fining the property owners that own those?
That was brought up. Go ahead, caller.
I had to call back. I heard that gentleman mention hammer mill properties.
Yeah.
What is happening to the hammer mill properties?
I wish I knew. The last I heard, I think it was Erie Industrial Corporation was.
Yeah, I heard they had a couple people in line for another person that's.
You know what's interesting, John? Did the people that owned the racetrack sell their property? I don't remember.
No, I think they still own the property down by the lake because they have the right to have a generator.
Yeah, that and they were going to put a restaurant in that power plant once.
Yeah, and the permits are too hard to come by. But what made me ask that question, I went by Camping Downing this morning, and I see all kinds of breathers still in the ground over that remedial fix.
Was that the landfill?
That was where the brickyard and everything was, where they have all that toxic waste.
Where they were going to put the tire plant?
And they put a remedial...
Oh, yeah, that was probably it.
They put a remedial fix over the top, and then they have vent pipes, so I don't know how many feet around. There's all kinds of them. Has anybody ever tested the air quality there, like the Great Erie Reaction?
That I don't know, but...
I mean, there's another white elephant.
It's just too bad that we didn't have
the gentleman was talking about the Lower East Side and the homeowners and all that. I was born and raised on the Lower East Side, and way back in the early days, it was a booming business. There was corner stores all over the place. Government came in, bought the properties for a song and a dance, threw everybody out, and what do we have now? We have entitlements down there, non-profits down there. So, again, government should stay the hell out of business and let the owners and the entrepreneurs do it themselves.
These gentlemen are too young to remember, but do you remember the last big project that happened right around when John Kennedy was in office?
Last big project?
Well, they came in and there was tons of, this is prior to Vietnam really heating up, and they had tons of money, remember, John?
Yeah.
And they came in, they were going to redevelop all the cities in America.
Yes.
And this is a sad tale, a tale of two cities, actually. They came in and knocked down most of Erie. Remember that, John?
Knocked down all of Erie. They knocked all the businesses downtown and everything else.
All the old buildings, they all went.
That was
the Warner, in fact, Warner was had a big ball waiting for that too.
Now they went to war about that and just give it up. That was Tullio's business, sir.
Yeah, but remember that was all around the Kennedy time.
Yes, it was.
And then there was a candy maker that tried to hold off the hotel.
Well, it's just like Obama with his stimulus money for these shovel-ready projects. That stimulus money went to hell. It didn't go to anybody.
The bad part was that buildings went down. The plans are all made. They're all over the place. You can find these drawings. The mythical city that almost happened. Parts of it did. Like the GTE headquarters across from St. Pete's. There were parts of it that they did come through with. But what happened was when the war started and the money dried up, what we had was empty lots, which became parking lots, a lot of them, and the building projects, right, John?
That's right.
Were never happened. So all the dreams about the renovation, what happened was you got rid of the original Elk Press, you got rid of the original Erie bookstore, building after building after building went down to original Trask, the original Helly's, all downtown.
Yeah,
some of them
all kinds of five and dimes downtown. Yeah, all kinds of stores.
all down, and the Warner, like I say, the Warner was ready. The ball was creeping up on it.
What Erie is now is a Geneva on the lake. It'll be there for about 6 weeks, and then kiss it goodbye for the winter.
Well, I hope,
Hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but it's a fact.
it was sad. When I was a kid, I said, man, the city's going to look so great. When you're young, you don't know what's going on. But, that was in
The difference.
it was well into college, and they still had a lot of empty lots. They still were there.
The people who use their own money and don't go looking for all these breaks, they're the one that will sustain their businesses and bring in the customers. Those who lose their LERTAs, their KOZs, and whatever, they take it and blow.
The only one I can agree with that's done a nice job,
Nick Scott.
well, him and also Smith Provisions,
Well, yes.
they've taken their money and they've actually followed through with their plans. I have nothing against like when Smith says, we need to expand, so we want to build a cooling plant down in the city of Erie, and we need tax help. Hey, you know what? Look at their product. It's being spread around the country now and around Pittsburgh.
Well, they've been.
More people are being hired.
They've been.
You can take the Lovell place up there. McGarry had a great thing going for him. Or McGarvey. The whole thing here is when he died, that place, and look at the homes it could sustain there. And the businesses.
Hey, he had a nice plan.
Yes, he did. So, well, I'll get off. I'm taking too much time. I have to come down there and sit in the middle of all you three.
Okay. We'll give you a bobblehead.
Okay.
What were you going to say, Don?
I forgot now.
DJ, you okay?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm a good listener. I'm a good bobblehead. I just sit here and I'm like, yep.
Well, the genesis of what's happened over the years was just...
Well, like he was talking about the Lower East Side. I mean, that neighborhood was, Russians, a lot of Russian folks, and
Irish.
And Irish with St. Patrick's there, and the Russian church is still down there located. But now, due to the housing stock is starting to deteriorate, so the rent's a lot lower than where you would up in the Upper East Side or the West Side. So, all those people that can't afford that type of rent, they move down there because, it's lower rent. So the people with all the money, with the disposable income, they've all moved out of there, and they, moved into the suburbs. They've sprawled out of here, which leaves renters with no money, basically, and crime.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz, how you doing today, bud?
Good. Well, you joined the party, so now it's a full house.
Yeah, I see that. Hey, I'm trying to figure out what is wrong with people from Erie, Pennsylvania. You're asked to set out one large item a week. The city picks it up, and people are setting out whole housefuls of garbage, couches, and everything. You're told not to put televisions in, but people setting televisions out. You know what we need this time of the year, Kaz? We need about 5 city employees to be switched to code officers, and people need to go around and cite everyone that does this because it's taking advantage of the city, and they do it every single year. And if you notice, it's getting worse. Every year there's more and more being set out to be picked up.
Yeah, I went to one house. I think they think there's a multiplier effect. Like one large item equals 5.
Yeah, and you got all month to do it. I mean, like me, I have apartments that I rent, and people leave things behind. So I'll set a couch out, one day, and I'll set out the beds another week. I don't set everything out the same day, but these people just set everything out, and something has to be done about this. I don't know how this is sustaining for the city. I know it's included in with the garbage bills, but hey, I want to touch on one other thing, bud, before I go, and it was very disturbing to me. I read an article in the paper where the city police are not showing up for preliminary hearings. One guy had 3 ounces of cocaine. The charges was dismissed against him. Another one was charged with homicide. Now, they subpoenaed this cop for the drugs to be in court, which, first of all, they should never have to subpoena a cop to show up in court. And then they called him. Well, he didn't show up for 50 minutes to the court hearing, and the judge threw out the case against him. If you or I are subpoenaed to court and we don't show up, we're charged with contempt of court, which is a criminal charge. I don't know what's going on with the city police and the district attorney not cooperating, but how are we supposed to ever clean up this crime if the police are going out and arresting people and then not showing up at the hearing to take care of business?
I'd be curious what happened, because they have to subpoena illegally, because if they don't, then there's always that, you can always say, well, nobody told me, you know, so subpoena is just a matter of procedure. They're going to do it automatically, you know. Right. But a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is the case, I know that a lot of times they're either off duty or on vacation, that's supposed to be entered, those factors are supposed to be entered with the judge so that they try to work around those problems. But I don't know what happened in this case, I really don't.
But it said in the paper that the cop was notified of the hearing.
Oh, he could have been notified, but they didn't follow up and say what I would be curious what the reason was why he couldn't be there. You know,
I'm just hoping that there's not some type of community, you know, I'm just hoping there's not some problem between the district attorney and...
Well, I know the one police officer, he's a very, the one they mentioned, Officer Janice, he takes time to come to our neighborhood watch meetings at night. He's always been receptive to the public.
There's got to be something else.
Yeah, there's got to be, because he's, you know, just like in the real world, there's people that nothing would surprise you, but Chris Janice is a quality officer. I don't know what happened there. I really don't.
I don't
Yes,
know
he was
him,
talking-
but you're
Yeah.
saying what
I
you're
totally
saying. There
agree
has
with
to be
you.
something else to the game, because he would not charge this guy. 3 ounces of cocaine is a lot of cocaine. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a lot of poison being sold to people. And, yeah, I don't know. But anyhow, they did patch underneath the bridge here, man, down Peach Street. But I'll tell you what, it is like going through rumble strips for some reason. Have you been through there?
Yeah, I did. Let's hope that it's one of the roads they're going to fix permanently.
Oh, okay.
What happens under the bridges, you know, why they get so torn up, is because naturally when people pull up to a bridge, they slow down. And then when they get as they're coming under the bridge, they start speeding up. So that's why the roads get torn up.
Really?
Yeah, I spoke with somebody in the streets department, and they explained to me that's why the roads get. And if you think about it, I mean, I guess it does make sense, because people, you know, just naturally, you would slow down for a little bit, and then once they come from under the bridge, they speed up, and that churns up the streets.
Hey, Kaz, I'm going to let you go, man. I just wanted to call about them 3 items.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to talk. I know that officer personally, and
That's surprising, Officer Janice.
Like I've had him when we called him on special projects that he showed up.
Let us know.
I'd be curious, because he is a quality. John knows him too well.
Yeah,
All right, bud.
Hey, thank you.
that's surprising to hear about.
Yeah, there's got to be more to that story. I mean,
there's always more to the story.
well, they didn't. To me, they didn't follow the story through and say what the reason was. I mean,
Well, they never, you know, even with the criminal cases they have going, half the people aren't showing up that are subpoenaed, so they just continue it.
and what people don't understand, these police officers have to come in on their own time too. You know?
Right.
I mean, yeah, you know, that's part of their job, but a lot of people wouldn't like that in the real world.
Do you want them in court, or do you want them on the streets? I mean, it's a...
And we don't know. He could have been, we don't know what the situation was. But I know, I will say this publicly, Chris Janice is a good man.
I agree.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, hey, Kaz, those catch basins on Old French Road on 35th and 37th on the Jefferson side,
Right.
still haven't cleaned them up.
You know, I called about them. I'm going to have to, I guess, go down to the sewer department myself and talk to them.
Yeah, but we're supposed to get a lot of rain the next few days, you know.
Yeah, at least we should at least have streets clean off the top of them. That'll...
They got all mud and debris on them, so
Yeah.
they're like worthless. The water just runs right down.
When it starts to rain, I hope it doesn't come to that, but I want to take a ride up there and kind of observe it a little bit.
Yeah, by the way, they looks like they fixed that pothole on East 12th there. It goes into the credit union.
They finally did?
Like they fill it up.
Yeah, I said the streets director, I said, if it isn't ours, can you at least contact the state? Because that may be a state problem.
Yeah, well, we got that rectified.
Yeah, because somebody, I mean, that thing was
Yeah.
you could blow a tire in that sucker.
You sure would. Okay, let you go.
I heard a rumor that they thought it was a meteorite crater hit that.
Is he talking about 12th and Green Garden?
No, right by Manis's gas station.
Oh,
There's the alleyway there that's
Okay.
technically a street,
yeah,
but we didn't know whether that was a state. See, the 12th Street is a state project.
right. That's Route 5, right?
Yeah, it looks like they took
no.
care of it, though.
Well, thank you. You know, your persistence, and that helps.
It's not Route 5.
See ya.
And our streets department does listen to the show once in a while, I've been told.
Yeah.
But-
They're paying attention up there.
They were out front of my building up there last week. I saw them filling in some little holes.
Was it the state or us?
I couldn't tell. I'm not really sure. How do you tell?
Yeah, usually it's a state up there unless they authorize us, you know, it's some,
I think the trucks were yellow.
could be the state. They have yellow trucks too.
I don't know if you heard about this when you were out of town, but as far as crime goes, they were talking. I was at the courthouse. I was last week, and some guy tried to bring his
Oh,
brought a vial full of crack into the courthouse.
yeah, that made the papers out east too.
Really?
Yeah, it was a great story. I mean,
I mean, if I'm a crack dealer, this is a public service announcement to all crack dealers: leave your crack in the car, or leave your crack at home.
you know what would have been funnier? If you would have handed it over, can you hold this till I get back?
There's a lot of cops that hang out at the courthouse.
By the way, that was a surprise, wasn't it?
I had just come in after that, and then I was watching. They said on the news that there was a kid that was stabbed and shot, and somebody had dropped the cell phone at the scene. Okay, so not only did this guy that stabbed him and shot him drop his cell phone, but whoever he was with, they realized, oh, where's my cell phone? Call my cell phone. Call my cell phone. I can't find it. So this guy's calling his, and in this day and age, there's a thing called caller ID. So now, not only is it your phone because you dropped it, you're caught, but the guy you're with, whose name shows up on the phone, the cops were looking at it, I guess, saying, you know, look at this. So they're helping the chief. I mean, keep up the good work, guys. Keep up the
Did
good
you heard
work.
the one about the guy that robbed the bank?
In Erie?
Oh, this is out of town. Yeah, on the back of the note was his personal information.
Oh, God.
He ran out of paper. He was using something from his wallet.
Jesus.
Hey, the brightest people in the world aren't.
No, like the world's stupidest criminals. I mean,
But that had to be amazing when I read that about that. You walk into the courthouse and you put that on the scanner.
they had the stick-up kids or whatever that gang, and I'll tell you what, there's more arrests coming with that.
With what?
With those stick-up kids, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
There's still more arrests coming, so they're all starting to squeal on each other, and
Well,
more of them we get off the streets, the better off
Well,
we
the guy
all
at the
are.
courthouse was like that kid from Mercier's. You know, I'm in criminal justice, and some of us are intelligence.
Yeah.
So you can't do nothing to us.
Well, the kid
We're
that
breaking the law. That's all. You know.
the kid that brought in the crack, I guess, was there to support, because I was at the courthouse that happened to be there that day, and there were all kinds of kids down there and people down there supporting these guys, and one of the guys, they were there to see the stick-up, you know, support them, and he's got a vial full of crack on him.
Well, he's going to be supporting them even closer now.
Well, yeah, they're on the buddy plan now, so,
Yeah.
you know,
They get kind of like the Army. You know, bring a friend in, and we'll.
Yeah.
You can have a cellmate. You know.
you know, it's just like, you know, hopefully they had the cameras trained right on these guys and in the courthouse, and they, you know, just ID the name to the face.
Maybe has our furry friend ever gone over to the courthouse?
No attempts at that have been made.
You might get shot going.
I might get shot. Here, you could pass that down. That's for Kaz.
Is that classic?
This is you.
Oh,
I don't know if they can see that on there. Kaz and a skunk. Kaz,
There's a lot of.
you guys got the same hairdo. You got the gray and the white.
Hey, wait, what are you saying?
Do you have blue eyes too?
No.
So basically,
Just go alongside the picture of Tom
Yeah.
Lynch and Al Roker I got, and a couple others.
oh wow, you got to see Al Roker.
You never see my Al Roker picture?
No.
No, was it in your office?
Yeah.
No, huh?
Oh, I had pictures with all kinds of, you know.
Was he here?
Yeah, he was at, when I was on the school board, he was here for a spokesman for General Electric.
Oh,
And they brought him in when they knew East High School, you know.
Right.
Well, yeah, you meet a lot of people in there.
Well, yeah, speaking of high schools, well, you know that, you talk about the Erie School District.
Yeah.
What about Mill Creek?
I'll tell
Wow.
you, there's a solution to those problems.
What's that, Kaz?
Well, I'm gonna probably write a letter to the editor, one of those op-eds. I don't want to leave it out. I'll tell you privately. Otherwise, if I tell it, I'm sure somebody will pick it up and claim it. But there is a solution to the problem. You realize that when you're a school director, and you realize it even more as you get older and you look back and you think about the things that happen and why they happen. See, one thing about, like in my job as controller, you have the ability to analyze things. That's your job. So you start deep thinking on stuff and you go, hey, I could see how that happens. And that's what you basically do, is you try to figure out how people are going to, like in business, you try to figure out ways that you can do things better or ways that people are taking advantage of you.
It was just odd how their school superintendent just, all of a sudden just
it's very easy
disappeared.
You're dealing with, and I'm not going to bat for anybody in this. You're dealing with part-time elected officials, okay? And the way the system is set up, it can happen real easy. And how you go from euphoria, to that.
They went from a new school, they went from a brand new high school,
closing
brand new stadium to closing schools.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the problem when I was on the school board, the way the laws are written, this is rotten, but there is more money to be made by building a new school. And I'll explain why that happens. See, the state will give you reimbursement to a certain level on renovating a building, but you get more money for building a new building. So what you have to do is you have to get the renovation project to exceed a certain percentage of the value of the building, and then the new school makes more sense. It's like if I come up to you and I say, I can fix up your house, John, or I can give you, I can fix up your car, or I can say a brand new car, for $5 more.
Right.
That's making light of it, but
Right.
that's about what happens, and
So, it's it's cost effective to build a new one.
Yep, and that's what, but how they went through the whole process, that group of people reminded me of my group when they were trying to close Academy. And how much you get beat up by the media because they think the average person doesn't possess the ability sometimes to analyze problems and to come up with solutions. They were right. They were vindicated by an auditing firm. And I like to say, like way back when we tried to keep Academy open, we had many of the same issues about, did you really need to build a new school? Did you really need to close it? Did you really need to do this and that? But when you ask questions, it's very easy for the media to get caught up in the hype of organized politics and an organized school board where they give you a nice little bound document and you're handing out notes to the media because you don't have the cash, but these fine reports look nice. They're not always right though.
Were you with the school board when in the new East High, or was that after your time, or?
When the building was built, I was there.
So you were on the school board when the new East High was built?
Yeah. And I remember the arguments and all the discussion. That's why I became familiar with the process about how you go from renovating to building a new school, how it happens, how and there's a lot of things that are done to get you from point A to point B. They did the same thing in Mill Creek, new football stadium, new school, man, for the kids, all that. And sometimes you have to sit back and you have to analyze those things and say, where are we?
Well, you have charter schools now that are draining money out of those budgets big time.
Oh, they are. And the interesting thing I always tell people, before you go jumping on school boards and blaming them for everything, when federal and state cuts their budgets,
Right.
the cash flowing downwards stops real quick. So the only place to get the money is at the local level. But the mandates
Right,
never stop.
right.
See, so if you want to be prudent, and I'm pointing to all these politicians up in Harrisburg and Washington D.C., also, when you stop the money, stop the mandates.
Right.
So that, you don't say, we're not going to give you the money, but you still got to do it.
The No Child Left Behind.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Kaz, there is a solution to that Mercyhurst problem.
What's that?
Get all those kids, those 350 kids, supposedly, living off campus, get them back on campus.
Yep, that is, that, I kind of mentioned at the meeting, and I didn't get a good look from the 3 representatives of the college, though.
Well, the college
I mean, the
would make
university.
money by getting those kids up on campus.
Oh, yeah.
Landlords would lose money, and the neighbors would be happy.
Well, like I said, I had a party at my house the other night. It was very respectful. Not my house, up the hill. Okay. I told the neighbors it's been kind of quiet up there. They had a party. They were very respectful. By a decent hour, they were gone. That's all the neighbors ask, that you act like an adult.
A lot of them don't do that, though.
Nope, they don't. And, if they would do that, we'd be happy to have them,
I have a question for you, Kaz. Do you ever get complaints from the residents that live near the Gannon area? I mean, I know.
They did it one time, but they cured that problem because Gannon police officers can go off campus legally. And Gannon was embarrassed, much like Mercyhurst was. And many years ago, when Joyce was there, they did have a similar situation.
But
they've kind of stopped it, I think.
So you're telling me that the Gannon police can leave, but Mercyhurst cannot?
No, they can't.
Why is that?
A judge made a ruling, and probably the college's decision also.
Yeah, well, that's more.
Are you still there, ma'am?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to remind you. We got to remind you, everybody out there. There's a meeting tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
7 o'clock at the Lamb of God.
We're because we have Cinco de Mayo coming up.
Oh yeah, another excuse for drinking. They cover all the saints: Patrick, Cinco de Mayo, Christmas.
And usually the Spring Fest is around Mother's Day.
There's another one.
That's another one. So I hope the police are going to be out and about on those weekends.
I was laughing the other day. I was going down one of the east side streets on the hill. The keg got away from the kids trying to hide it, and they're rolling down the street.
They should let them.
Might be a new game.
Let them all drink on campus.
That's why they have no trouble on campus. They're very.
Well, that one kid ran into the building, into the library, but better into their building than into our buildings.
Hey, you didn't hear about that?
No.
Yeah, a kid ran into the corner of the library. He lives off campus. He went on campus, wrapped the heck out of it, and then left campus, and they caught him.
How about the kid on Briggs Avenue with the porno? They got him in that porno sting.
Oh, jeez.
Nice kids.
Oh, my God.
We got to wrap up. I think on that note.
Yeah, we'll wrap up on the
I think we're going to send Skunky up there and investigative reporting.
No. My recommendation is to bring back prohibition.
How about the draft? That'll bring them back.
And the draft, yes.
My idea is, my suggestion is give their police the same rights as Gannon police to go off campus and regulate these kids.
I brought that up. That wasn't looked upon too good either.
Why not?
Hey, thank you, ma'am.
I mean, I didn't know that. I mean, that would help. I mean, we have enough trouble, we need police in our neighborhoods, not police in college parties, and, code enforcement needs to be in buildings.
Maybe we need to, we're not getting about the Second Amendment. We'll start a militia up there.
No, yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't started up there already.
We better go.
Well, with that, hey, I want to thank you two gentlemen.
Anytime, Cass. People were fired up today, so.
Yeah, they were. They didn't.
Yeah, it was great. I had fun. Bobblehead.
You're no bobblehead. You're fun. DJ's got a lot. DJ, bring some. You got some notes? Oh,
I brought notes, but there was just no way of getting them out.
We're going to have a dead show once in a while.
Yeah.
One time, someday, maybe when John and I cover for you.
There you go.
Yeah, we can talk about it, who
All
knows?
the things I haven't been able to talk about.
Well, with that, three amigos say adios, and
Adios.
we'll see you.
Peace.
Peace.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can have that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's going up on my wall.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.